What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Fantasy Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender. That guy over here, this way, Craig Mish. What is going on, Mish? How are you, man? What's going on?
Good afternoon. It's great to be with you here, Howard, again. And I mean, what could be better? I mean, here where I live and where you live, the weather's beautiful. It's been a great week so far in fantasy baseball. Got some good matchups tonight, and looking forward to talking about everything with you.
Has it been a great week? Has it? You obviously don't own any shares of Josh Harrison, and you're not in any weekly move leagues where maybe you're still sitting with Josh Harrison in your starting lineup.
Yeah, maybe I am, and maybe all I do is just sit on fantasyalarm.com and click the optimizer and just take everybody out to dinner based on the winnings. That could be a good way to start.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, you want to talk? Do you want to talk Playbook Fire? I could talk Playbook Fire all day long. Absolutely. Yesterday was killer. Listen, I don't like to brag, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I've won hundreds of thousands of dollars, blah, 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 blah. I have been on a really nice hot streak. I did not play my solo account on Sunday because of all the weather problems and whatnot. I did have I got a buddy of mine who cuts me in on his action because he bounces his lineups off of me. I warned him against playing. He had Angel stacks going Sunday. He had Ohtani going in a number of them, and that last minute cancellation of that game after lineups locked was a huge deal. But what do? You rebound the next day, and I gotta tell you, Monday I did the playbook. Jim and I talked about it on the show on Fantasy Alarm. Everything was just, I mean, it was insane. I made one pivot that I shouldn't have made, and I ended up with Gene Segura in my lineup as like a contrarian play for GPPs against Keuchel. Had Trevor Story in there. Kind of got spooked about the cold weather in Pittsburgh. Ball doesn't travel as well when it's freezing temperatures like that, and so I ended up taking Story out of my lineup. But whatever, man. I still cashed everywhere.
That's what it's about.
House account at Fantasy Alarm. You guys can check that out over on Twitter. Absolute fire. You guys want in on that playbook? Do it. We're going to be running we've got a free trial going right now, 7 days. Go to fantasyalarm.com/radio. Use the promo code radio. You can get yourself a free 7 days, and then you just take that sucker for a spin on us, baby. Win some money, afford the playbook. That's really where it comes down to here. So
yeah.
Let's get to it, man. Let's talk about what's been going on here. Let's talk about some of the pitching highlights that we saw from yesterday. Obviously, we don't need to talk about the high-end guys. It was nice to see Dallas Keuchel. Even though he took the loss, it was nice to see him bounce back and really throw, 8 really solid innings. James Paxton, Blake Snell, Daniel Mengen. 3 guys who I had in the playbook. The matchups looked fantastic. The only one I was really nervous about, and I said just only use him in a deep GPP, was Mengen. I got to tell you, Craig, these 3 guys looked absolutely spectacular last night. They ran into a little bit of trouble here and there. Snell, he walked a guy or two. Paxton had a couple of guys on base. But overall, I mean, how much do you love these guys now?
Yeah, and the A's pitching has been really good. You saw on Sunday how good Sean Manaea was against a pretty good Seattle team. Now, remember, Seattle's very left-handed. Virtually every hitter that they have is almost left-handed. So that could have played a factor into how well Manaea pitched. But you're right, Howard. I mean, those were really good calls by you last night. And, sometimes it just comes down to, fading the right team. I mean, you would never think that the Rays would be an option. I think they are again tonight, by the way, in DFS. We've talked about this a ton. Texas needed every single run and every single piece of good luck to beat Houston Saturday and Sunday. They needed a perfect game from Bartolo Colon on Sunday. And on Saturday, they needed Ronald Guzman, a rookie, to hit a home run off Brad Peacock to tie that game after Charlie Morton was destroying Texas. So do not all of a sudden think that the Rangers are all of a sudden, because they beat Houston a couple games in a row, going to be a really good team. This is a team to target both in season long and DFS. They do not have Odor. They do not have Elvis Andrus. And for the time being, they don't have the Shields. And I don't know how people feel about Jurickson Profar. They don't have him either right now. So
right?
This is a really, really solid way to play in your season-long and DFS. Good calls from you last night. But, we'll see if Chirinos can keep it going tonight. He's been scoreless so far, hasn't given up a run. And Cole Hamels hasn't looked that good. We'll see what happens tonight in St. Pete.
No, Cole Hamels has looked terrible. Absolutely terrible. Yeah, I had that Gomez, C.J. Cron, Wilson Ramos stack right in the middle of that lineup. That was phenomenal. Malik Smith, I've got heavy shares of him in seasonal leagues. He looked fantastic. I hate the fact that he's sitting at the bottom of the order there. But, I mean, another 4-for-4 performance from him. I absolutely love that. I can't get on board with the Rays too much. And, against Cole Hamels, I can definitely use them. I don't know necessarily if I'm going to stack them again against Cole Hamels. There are a lot of other really tasty matchups. Yeah. But, yeah, listen, that Texas Rangers lineup, dude, they're striking out a ton.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. And yeah, I mean, Gallo's going to hit his home runs, but he's going to strike out. It's just sometimes it's just not your year. I don't think it's necessarily Texas's fault. They just didn't make a big push in the offseason. But eventually you'll see Willie Calhoun in the big leagues. You see Ronald Guzman now. They did sign some international prospects. They have some young kids in the minors. They'll be fine in a couple of years. That's a really good franchise. It's just when you're hit with that many injuries, what can you do? I mean, they've lost 2 of their best 3 players already, and it's just been a really tough start for them. But, we can kind of take advantage of that. All of a sudden, as you mentioned, the Rays start looking good. The Rays aren't good, but they're playing against the Rangers. And you brought up a really good point with Malik Smith. If people are playing in season-long leagues, he's going to be owned in virtually every 12 or 15 league. Maybe he's sitting on the bench somewhere. Kiermaier is going to be out for a long period of time. If Malik Smith can just hover around, forget 4 hits. If he hovers around, 333 batting average, 340 on base, one every 3 times gets a hit, he's going to bat at the top of that lineup. And then when Kiermaier comes back, they have some decisions to make. So I think all the people who jumped off Malik Smith for good reason, when you're a guy that all you do is run and you hurt your legs, there's not a lot to talk about. But moving forward, this is a very intriguing name. I kind of backed off him a little bit in my season-long leagues. I own him in one place, and I'm very happy with the results. In fact, in the league that I'm in, that I have him in, I'm in first place. So he's really helped me a lot. Yeah,
quick correction on that. It's not Cole Hamels pitching tonight. It's Matt Moore!
Oh, Matt Moore. That's right. Matt Moore. A different lefty. Sorry about that.
I think I'm back on the Rays stack all of a sudden here.
Yeah, I talked about that on my show this morning, too. And it just, I think maybe Hamels pitches tomorrow. But, yeah, different left-handed pitcher could be the same result. I looked at that one immediately and thought,
worse.
Wow,
worse. Matt Moore's a piece of crap. He's a piece of crap. And
what a shame. I thought he was going to be great.
And the fact that the Rays bats know Matt Moore from having him shit up their rotation the year before. I love this matchup now, even more so. Let me ask you, what are your thoughts on this Houston lineup right now? They are ice cold. Bartolo Colon throws that near-perfect game against them. Then they come in and they face Paxton last night. They get shut down again. It's a tough situation. Listen, obviously, you're not going to worry about guys like Correa and Bregman. You're not going to worry about Jose Altuve. But on the whole, right now, do you look at this as like, you know what? I'm going to just start stacking Astros and GPPs because people are going to stay off of them because they're cold right now. I mean, looks like it's just going to be a disaster waiting to happen. Ariel Miranda, lefty on the mound for Seattle tonight. I got to be honest, man. I got to use Correa here. I got to use Bregman. I got to use Altuve. Ariel Miranda had some decent showings a little bit last year, but I can't get on board with him right now, having not pitched at all, except for the minors.
Yeah, based on the pricing, that's the key. But again, the trend is Houston isn't hitting well. I don't know that all of a sudden I would just buck that trend and think all of a sudden the bats are going to wake up. It doesn't usually happen like that. In the end, I think Bregman will be fine, Altuve and Correa and Springer and all those guys. And in the end, they're going to end up winning 112 games or 113 like I thought they would at the beginning of the season. It's just a little, I would say, a mini slump for them. Again, this is a team in April that's going through so much. They raise the banner and they get their championship rings. Maybe the kind of thing at some point, one of the players that we don't expect gets really hot. Maybe it's Gurriel who came back. Maybe it's Josh Reddick all of a sudden who kind of gets them going. But I have zero concerns about this team whatsoever. it's April. You don't know what things are going to be like in April. I can't ever get a great determination on a Major League Baseball team in the first month of the season. And I think that the Astros showed through the first 10 games that they were the best team in the league. It shouldn't all of a sudden change 3 games later.
No, it definitely shouldn't. Definitely shouldn't. That's panic. It's overreaction. And come on, we're better than that. We're better than that.
Gotta be. Now there are teams on the other hand that like Texas that we talked about on the flip side that you have to be overly concerned with. And Pittsburgh's off to a good start. You could see that maybe continuing. The Mets are off to a good start. You could see that maybe continuing. But in both DFS and season-long leagues, like you own guys on the Reds, and you have to say, like, wow, like we're getting pounded every single night. The Marlins are getting pounded every single night. You have to have your internal concerns because this isn't like metrics that you can measure on the field. This is upstairs in the head, like the Reds every night. Like, what are they thinking when they're down 5-0 immediately? The Marlins are down 5-0 immediately. You have to wonder what's kind of going through their head a little bit. And when they get to May and these teams are 10 games under already, do you start worrying about your own players? Like, will that affect their own personal performance? I think it's a fair question. We're not there yet, but 2 weeks from now, I think we will be.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, take a look at Miguel Cabrera. There are a lot of people who were raving about the way he looked in the spring. They were looking for a rebound from him. I mean, how long is Miguel Cabrera going to sit and give 100% when the rest of that lineup looks like shit? I mean, it's absolute trash right now. And they're going to lose a ton of games. It's like, who's going to the race to 100 losses? We're seeing this with a lot of teams right now. And yeah, when you got the veterans who can't be moved, because let's face it, you can't move Miguel Cabrera.
No.
Nobody's taking that contract off of Detroit.
Yeah, Homer Bailey, $20 million a year. Like, there's just no shot of that. The Marlins, I think, have Prado at $18 million or something like that. Yeah, there are immovable players on every team, but what we need to do in the season-long aspect for sure is on those teams start looking at when the young guys are going to get called up and where the better options are coming from those teams. And from DFS, we absolutely pick on it. And you were really smart in doing what you did yesterday with a little bit of a raised stack. It's just when these two bad teams are playing, well, when the two bad teams are playing against each other, you go with the team that's playing better. And Tampa Bay, although Texas had won a couple games, it was a mirage the way that they won those games. It really was. And if you don't identify that, you can end up losing. So, the Reds to me are, from a fantasy perspective, it's not necessarily a pick-on thing because they can win every now and then, but there's got to be some fantasy concern there if you own their hitters. Like, what have they got to be thinking? Like, even if we put a 4 or 5 spot up, we have almost no shot to win. Our pitching is last in the big leagues by a full run over everyone else's earned run average. That's a lot.
It is a lot. Guys, just so everybody out there knows, we're broadcasting live right now. On YouTube, the Fantasy Alarm channel on YouTube, Fantasy Alarm page on Facebook. You can also get us over on Periscope, Twitter, wherever you want. Answering any and all your questions here. Join the discussion. Throw something out here for us. Craig, somebody obviously was listening to you already this morning. Colin Day says, from the show today, he does not think unlimited DL should be an option, but I do think more DL spots should be available. Well, where do you draw the line? Do you say 5 DL spots? Do you say 8 DL spots? Do you say 10 DL? You might as well make it unlimited here and let the teams who are getting waylaid by injuries, do something. My FSTA team right now, Craig, holy crap, dude. I lost Jake Lamb. I lost Jonathan Scope. I lost Adam Eaton. I've got a number of guys on the DL there. If you can't have unlimited DL spots, I mean, how else are you going to compete? You're just saying that if you get bit by the injury bug, you're fucked. You're done. You might as well quit the season. Like, that's what you're saying if you're saying no unlimited DL slots. We have 2 DL slots in our NL only league, Craig, and that's killing me. It's absolutely killing me. I've been going without Will Myers, without a first baseman, really, for a long time now with him being out. Because there are guys I don't want to give up off my roster in order to kind of shuffle guys through. There's nobody out there on the waiver wire who's going to say, this is going to be a difference maker here for me. So, you got to play it like that. So I'm with you, man. Unlimited DL, I need it. What do you say about it?
I was against it.
You're against it?
Yeah, I'm against it.
Why?
Yeah. Okay. So we had a really heated conversation about it. We did a poll on Twitter, also overwhelmingly against it. Here's the reason why, is that it's fair, the assessment that you're making about having all your guys on the DL. But what you can't do is you can't allow somebody in your league to, after the draft, pick up all the guys who are on the DL and just stash them there, because it's only going to hurt your chances in the FSTA now, because you won't have anybody to pick up with your guys going on the DL. So there has to be some maximum amount that you can take a player, whatever that amount is, I'm fine with it. I don't care, but there has to be a set amount so people don't just stash all the disabled league players and eliminate the player pool. Then Lenny Melnick came on the show and was saying, there should be somebody there to police picking up players on the DL, and there should be a commissioner in place there, and you just can't do it. There just has to be a set number.
What do you mean you can't do it? You can limit. I mean, listen, in all honesty, you can limit certain things like that. You can limit it and say that you can't you can't draft more than 2 guys who are currently on the disabled list. Like, you could put that limit there, and for the first week of waivers, you can turn around and say that. You can say, listen, you can make these 2 moves here, but for the rest of the season, now granted, you're going to have to fight with ESPN, Yahoo, and every other freaking, host site out there as far as doing it. But I think you can. I think you need to kind of limit it. Listen, people who sit there and draft a bunch of DL guys so that they can switch them out that first week. I mean, it's a Bush League move. It's a garbage move, but that's also a move that is going to bite them in the ass, I think. I don't think it's really them stashing too many guys out there and destroying the player pool. But if you limit it, at least for the draft and at least for that first round of waivers, I think it's doable.
I mean, you can talk about having rules, but the sites aren't set up to handle the kind of discussion that we're having now, and that's the key. If the sites are set up that way, and some people were saying to me this morning that Fantrax has a way to set it up, and there's some other sites, then I'm fine with it.
CBS also.
What I'm not fine with is using rules that have to be policed by a human. Those things are always, there's going to be loopholes. People are going to find ways to get around it. The discussion that we had today was that, somebody, I think it was Lenny or Jim, brought up the example of, in the league, you can have players, but you can't pick up anybody that's on the DL. Like, that was the thing. Like during the season, you can't just pick up somebody on the DL to just stash them there. And then my answer is, okay, I'm playing in a first come, first served league, and I'm at the Marlins game Sunday against the Pirates, and I'm watching it, and I'm playing in, let's say, a 10-team league or 12-team league, and Josh Harrison gets whacked on the arm, and I go to my phone, and I say, uh-oh, Josh Harrison's going to be up, and I pick him up, and then the next morning, he's put in the DL, and I got him before he went on the DL, and now I stash him on the DL. What I'm saying is there's going to be loopholes to all of these kind of different situations, and I don't want the human error involved in it, having to police, oh, look at this guy, he looked at that guy. Lenny's argument was, I'll do it. And yeah, he's right. There are leagues, Howard, that there are passionate people who've been playing fantasy sports for 30 years, and I'm not speaking to those people. Come on, that's not who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the novice person. He's playing in a head-to-head league against his buddies, and then all of a sudden they have to be monitoring, who's doing what, adding guys. But, I mean, they're not going to want to do that. The 20% of the people out there who are so passionate about this, go ahead and make your own rules and in 30-year leagues and figure it out and have somebody police it every day. Okay, fine. But to the average novice person, they don't want to be having to go through all this. If the site will allow it or disallow it, fine. My opinion is this. Come up with a number on DL spots that works for everyone and enforce it and use it, and that's the end of the story. I cannot have unlimited. You're going to have Adam Ronis, the first waiver wire, having 15 guys that are all on the DL, and he's going to be sitting on them, and then your guy's going to really go on the DL, Will Myers, and you're going to go, well, maybe I can pick up this guy, and you're going to go click, and Adam Ronis is going to have the guy. You don't want that.
Well, I can get you. I got you there. Well, again, there's another thing. First come, first serve waivers is bullshit too.
It is, but it's out there. But
of
again,
course it's out there.
Your opinion. I don't play in any. But
you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. You run a free league on Yahoo, you get what you pay for. You run a free league on ESPN, you get what you pay for. Like, we wanted to go to just 3 DL spots in the NL only league that you run, and that's on ESPN, and you couldn't even add a third DL spot.
I couldn't do it. No, I couldn't do it.
So that right there, I mean, that should tell you.
But that's on me, though. That's on me because I didn't have it set up before the draft, and I guess that's the only way to do it.
The fact that you can't override as a commissioner
it is bad, but I can't do it. I wish I could. I went in there to do it during the draft, and it said once you're set, you're set. You know, CBS, I think you can do that.
Yep, CBS you can, Fantrax you can.
You know, apparently ESPN you can't. I definitely feel for those people who have all of those injuries and only have a DL spot or two. I don't think it's right. I think there should be more. I agree with you, but not unlimited. No, not unlimited.
All right. What do you guys think out there? Chime in, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, whatever you got. Unlimited? Not unlimited? What do you think here? Listen, great points on both sides of the argument, I think, and agree to disagree. Let's hit some of these questions here right now. Oh, look, hey, my wife just joined the live stream. Hi, honey.
Awesome.
How are you? Thoughts on John Gray's value? This is from Dave Frisk. Thoughts on John Gray's value in a 14-team head-to-head categories league? Bench, stream, or roll the dice each start?
Got to stream. Whoa, you all right there? You got.
Oh yeah, I'm just thinking about starting John Gray in Colorado.
Yeah, you got to stream John Gray. I don't think you can cut him. We're only a couple starts into the season. You know, I'm not in real full freak out mode on him. It just doesn't look like John Gray pitching in Coors is ever going to be, you know, what we thought he may be with the pick that he was in the draft. But that being said, I'm not cutting him. I'm going to hang on. He'll get games in Petco. He'll get games in LA, and for those, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, if you want to stream him, absolutely. I did that last year with the Colorado Rockies starters. You looked at the splits there for John Gray, Tyler Chatwood, even Tyler Anderson, the lefty, the young lefty.
Right.
Great starts outside of Coors, inside Coors, hot trash. Hot trash. Yo, what's up, Phil? Phil Mailer just asking, what's up? Not much, you know, just chilling here with my buddy Craig, talking a little about baseball here. Mauricio Vargas wants to know, what would you expect from Mike Zunino? He drafted him very late. He's been fortunate to have Cervelli playing well right now. Do you think there's still all that home run power coming or nothing? 12-team, 5x5 roto.
Yeah, you hung on to Zunino this long, and you got to wait for him to come back. I think that in terms of power, I mean, he may have the most power of any catcher, of any player at catcher in fantasy baseball in 2018. You can't let these 2 weeks that he hasn't played just derail your plans. You put him right back in the lineup as soon as he's active, and you go from there. I mean, Cervelli has done a really nice job, but Cervelli is, you know, 260, 270, 8 homers, 40, 50 runs driven in at the end of the year, and that's it. Nothing wrong with Cervelli. He's not going to hurt you. But in a standard format without two catchers, you're looking for a catcher who can help you. In the two-catcher league, you want to be careful of guys who can really hurt you, and I've had that happen to me before. There's almost sometimes no point of owning a second catcher. He's only going to derail you. But I think that you probably pick up Zunino in that format, and I doubt you'll be able to trade. You keep Zunino. I doubt you can trade Cervelli to anyone. So you'd have to really parse out which team is missing a catcher that's still hurt at this point. You know, Wieters came back. JT Realmuto's coming back. You know, there aren't a lot of guys who are going to run to grab Cervelli, so you're probably cutting him. You're probably cutting Cervelli when Zunino comes back.
Yeah, probably. Tucker Barnhart. In every two-catcher league I'm in, Tucker Barnhart is my second catcher. He went for nothing. It was like, you know, last-round pick. Oh, hey, I'll grab Tucker Barnhart. Dude's hitting 270.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of pop, as long as he doesn't hurt you there. All right, over on YouTube here, Sean Sarah. What's up, Sean? As far as the DL goes, he's of the opinion of 3 spots ever since MLB went to the 10-day or more. More and more teams are being more liberal. Absolutely. We definitely understand that. 3 spots. Oh, man, hamstrings me a little bit. Hamstrings me. Unless MLB listens to me and the medical field actually does go to instead of a ligament replacement surgery, a hamstring replacement surgery when they're young. Put bungee cords back there, dude. I'm telling you.
You're very big on that. I've noticed
synthetic hamstrings.
Yeah.
That's going to be that's the wave of the future.
That's your thing. Are we gonna? By the way, are we gonna play What's in the Shed today? Are we gonna have that game today?
Do you want to play What's in the Shed today? We can play What's in the Shed.
Yeah, I'm not saying it has to be right now, but just start thinking about it before the end of the show. I'd love for you to just grab something. It could be on your desk or whatever. I'm not asking you to get up, but
I got something for you. We'll take a look at that in just a hot second here.
I love the What's in the Shed game.
Right? What's in the Shed? Because you know what? We got. I'll give you a hint. Couple of Jews kibitzing here about baseball. I got something for the two of us. And all the lawnsmen out there who are watching alongside us. Awesome. Anyway, Sean Sarah wants to know, in a yearly AL-only league, is Big Sexy for real? I picked him up, but is he going to implode, or is this just the fountain of youth?
Come on, man. I mean, AL only, he's got to be owned because, as you know, how in the NL, he'd be owned if he was in the NL.
Yep.
But I mean, I would set the win total for the season for Bartolo Colon. I'd say 7.5 wins would be the total I would set it. He could go over, he could be done. I mean, we all like him, we all like to root for him, but you gotta get real with that. Like he is your AL only 5th starter, basically. 5th
star, 6th starter, 7th starter. You're almost willing to put in any kind of a middle reliever just in place of him at times. Bartolo Colon, what do you think? Does he look like a California raisin?
A little bit more of a prune.
Okay, well, prunes, raisins, they're kind of the same thing. I'm thinking more like the commercial, the animated California raisin. Like, was that Bartolo Colon? It really could be. Or, people who went for Halloween as the California raisins, just big garbage bags over their bodies. That's Bartolo Colon-esque.
Yeah, I have a funny Bartolo Colon story from 2 years ago, from spring training 2 years ago. So I'm in the so who was Atlanta? When he was with Atlanta. So the Braves came, Howard, to, I think it was Jupiter or Palm Beach. I'm going to say Jupiter, I'm going to guess, which is where spring training was going on. And he was pitching that day. So I'm doing my interviews, before the game. And Colon is, I didn't see him or anything like that. But I'm walking out of the clubhouse, like walking out onto the field. And all of a sudden, I hear a huge thud, bam, like against the wall. And it scared the bleep out of me. So I turned around, and what Bartolo did to try and scare me was he threw a baseball up against, 70 miles an hour up against the wall of the clubhouse as I'm walking out. And what does he say? Oh, I'm sorry. Just kidding around. He's a big jokester, man. Like, I'll be interviewing somebody, he'll tap me on the shoulder or look around. He's a funny dude, man.
He is. You know what? It's so funny. Remember when he came up with the Indians? And people didn't know what to make of him. He had a really quirky sense of humor. It was really kind of funny. But, I mean, the talent was phenomenal back then. And you were like, wow, this dude's ceiling is ridiculous. And, and throwing down the sense of humor there as well. Listen, you know what? I do like calling him Big Sexy, though. I'm not going to lie. Because you know why? I like the fact that a guy who has my physique is still in the major leagues. And it's not Cecil Fielder. And it's not Mo Vaughn. Like Bartolo. David Wells. These are guys. I'm a chubby chaser when it comes to fantasy.
Hey, listen, the leader in home runs in the minor leagues, you could Google, take a look. Same guy, Josh Naylor on the Padres. Leads the minor leagues in home runs. And he's a big kid. He's a big dude.
Did you ever see the video of him when he was in what was it, in high A ball? Where he I guess he tripped and he fell. Like, he was rounding first. He didn't realize that the ball went over the fence. So he was running down first and he rounded the corner and he tripped and he fell. And there he is, this big fat dude, like army crawling back to the base. And he's laying there. And the first baseman was tapping him on the back. And he's like, hey, dude, ball's gone.
Right. No,
he had to get up. I love that dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he's he's gonna be a hitter in the big leagues, man. I mean, the Marlins drafted him in the first round. They ended up trading him. I think he was on the World Baseball Classic team for Canada. I mean, the Padres have him and Fernando Tatis Jr. They got some young players coming. I would say, forget the Padres for this year, but 2 years from now, there could be some impact there.
2 and 3 years from now, I'm loving on the Blue Jays and the Padres.
Could be.
I agree with you. Those farm systems are insane right now. Insane. So yeah, I'm digging on that. They definitely need some pitching, though. I mean, at least the Blue Jays do.
Yeah.
All right. So when Zunino comes back, this is from Phil Mailer. When Zunino comes back, do I drop Wilson Ramos head-to-head points league single catcher?
Bye.
You say goodbye to Wilson Ramos.
Yeah.
All right. I could dig that.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it was. So what if he gets picked up? You have the better catcher in Zunino.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're definitely the power from Zunino is ridiculous. It really, he does have that ability, that 20 to 30 home run capability there. You're going to get crap on the average, though. That's the one thing that you're going to have to.
Yeah, that's true. But what is Ramos's value? Like, what is the best case scenario for Wilson Ramos this year? Could 290, 10 homers?
I was going to say 12 to 15
on Tampa, though.
Yeah, well, I could see them trading him.
And he may not even be a starter somewhere else. I mean, maybe on the Mets, but
yeah, I was going to say if he goes to the Mets, if the Rays are willing to take some sort of low A prospect in return,
I think the Mets are going to hold for Plawecki. He's a great defensive catcher. It's 2 months. They'll fill in the blanks for now, I think. But I think the hard thing, Howard, is it's really hard in season to trade catchers. You don't see it that often because of working with the pitchers in spring training and getting used to them. It's very difficult, and I think that Lucroy really struggled so much last year when he got dealt. It's very difficult to do. So I wouldn't bank on it there. But Ramos could go back to Washington, obviously, if they want to upgrade defensively over Wieters. But by the time we get to the deadline, I mean, how many teams are going to be wanting players? And then of those teams that want to get better, how many are going to need catchers? Ramos could end up being stuck there.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I was talking to Jim yesterday about Jose Lobaton in New York and whether or not that was going to have a negative effect on DeGrom, Syndergaard, Wheeler, all these kids that they have over there. Everything's a negative impact on Steven Matz. Breathing is a negative impact on Matz. But and he was of the mindset, he was talking about how Lobaton really basically learned his craft under Jose Molina. Good solid pitch framer, good defensive catcher, runs like me.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. A lot of teams have these guys in the 8-hole in baseball that are the catchers that aren't hitting. They want more of a defensive catcher. So for the Mets, I don't think it's a huge downgrade. Somebody in fantasy may value, Ramos, but again, when you're not playing in a 2-catcher league, out of the 28 catchers in the big leagues, are there 18 good catchers? No, but there are 12. So it's hard to make a trade, and you're probably going to end up cutting them. And then you look down the list. Will somebody probably in this guy's league pick up Ramos over somebody that he has? Maybe, but it wouldn't be a significant upgrade there. Like you're talking about Gary Sanchez, Buster Posey, Wilson Contreras, in my mind, JT Realmuto, Salvador Perez, Yadier Molina. Then we're going down to Zunino. So now, and that's where we could probably stop. Now, does Wilson Ramos fit 8 through 12? Will the guy that owns Hedges go, oh man, Hedges batting $150? I'm gonna punt him and I'm gonna go for Ramos. Yeah, probably somebody will pick him up. But what upgrade is Ramos even over Hedges? Not that significant. We're not talking about one of the main guys.
Right. All right, let's pivot off of catchers here. Keith Giordano, my boy Keith. What's up, Keith? 2 players he wants to talk about here, or at least wants us to address. Byron Buxton, number 1. Obviously, perpetual slow starts. Looks dynamic in the second half. What are we expecting from him? And then what's the plan with Josh Hader? We get that Milwaukee bullpen chatter all the time here. It's like an outright nightmare over there. Albers blew the save the other day. He looked terrible. Hader, I mean, do the Brewers do this? Do the Brewers say, you know what, screw this? Yes, we like Hader in that Andrew Miller type effector role. Because I say effector because I know Lenny Melnick is watching right now because he's blowing up my chat over here. What's up, Lenny? But so Hader, do they turn around and possibly even say, you know what? Because eventually we want this guy to start and we want to keep his innings up. Do we make him a 2-inning save guy? Do we say 8th and 9th inning belongs to Josh Hader?
Maybe he did it the other day, right? So, I think it's possible. The council's just been so against it in terms of talking about it, but he just has been left with no other choice, I think, at this point. I think that if Hader gets into the game in the 8th, and he's protecting a 1 or 2 run lead, he may let him go out there and pitch the ninth for sure. So, I mean, the unfortunate thing is it looks like everybody who was on Barnes may have been wasted money. Maybe Barnes gets another opportunity at some point, but it definitely does not look good. Jeffers has just not even come close to even being in the mix there. And Albers, as you mentioned, did blow a save. So, Hader's a must-own, I think, in every league, maybe even a 10-team league. This guy's striking out more guys than starting pitchers, so I would say so. Who was the name? It escaped me.
Byron Buxton.
Okay, so with Buxton, here's the positive. The positive is the Twins have played less games than anybody else. It's fact. They've only played 11 games. Some other teams have played 15, 16, 17 games. That's the positive. The negative is that when you draft a fantasy team and you're constructing it in a rotisserie format for the whole entire season, and you're sitting there in April and you're looking at these numbers, what the expert will tell you to do is you have to wait. You have to be patient. You have to wait out the whole season. But it's only natural to feel that if you go through April and May with a guy batting 160 and only 2 home runs or a home run, that you have to adjust by overcompensating what he's not doing for you by acquiring someone. So, bad starts aren't the be-all, end-all, but they do play a factor into what you're trying to accomplish. If you fall too far down the standings, you can't just look at it and say, oh, I know what Buxton will be in the end. So there's no panicking for me still. It's only 11 games with him. And really, if his batting average is only 230 this year, is it the end of the world? No. At the same time, you have to hope that in this first half he produces more than he did last year, because if you fall and you're in second to last place, you may trade Buxton like I did last year. I mean, I traded him, and I lost everything that he did because I was scrambling to get what I couldn't get out of him, and I acquired Margot. In the end, it was more or less a fair trade. Maybe Buxton won by a little bit. Margot did go on the DL almost immediately after I traded him, but people who say, well, you have to be patient for the whole season, well, tell that to the guy who's not getting any steals out of Byron Buxton. He's falling in last. He's got to go get steals somewhere. What's he going to do?
Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, so Twins have played 5 fewer games than anybody else. Do you target Twins when you're doing some trade negotiations? Do you sit there and say, well, if I take him now, Buxton's got an extra 5 games for me coming up. Eddie Rosario's got an extra 5 games for me coming up. Brian Dozier. I mean, do you look at those guys and you say, hey, these are guys just to kind of keep on my radar as far as potential trade targets, because you're going to get more out of them than obviously what the owner got.
Yeah, I think that the counter to that, from what I heard, because I think that's a good idea, but the counter that I've heard to that is, well, they'll play in some doubleheaders, and then the players won't play in both ends. Like, to me, Brian Dozier, if he's healthy, is playing both ends of the doubleheader. Like, they're not going to sit him in one game.
Yeah, so is Buxton.
Yeah, so that argument is kind of nonsense. Now, you have to weigh what 5 games that player is really worth to you. And I think the other thing that you have to do is this applies more to people who are playing in novice leagues that they may not be really paying attention to. I think that's the key when you go after somebody like that. The other point of it is that like, you think about it, Howard. Like, I have Alex Colomé, and I drafted him as a closer. And he's not looking so great. But the guy who has Fernando Rodney probably looks as Fernando Rodney as a bottom-end closer. Well, if you trade Colomé of Tampa, who's played 16 games, for Rodney, who's played 11 games, you definitely are getting 2 or 3 more at least save opportunities from that in a 5-game span. So it's extreme to say that you should just be running after all the Twins, but we're playing fantasy and there's strategy involved. And if you could get a 5-game advantage that he ends up only being 3 or 4 games, it's still 3 or 4 games. And in the end, don't tell me you've never played in a fantasy league where you say, oh, if I only had 1 more save, I would have cashed or I would have finished 3rd or 2nd. It's a possibility. So, you're the Colomé owner out there. He's been a little bit shaky. Maybe somebody has Rodney, and that guy has Rodney as, the 27th best closer in baseball. I'll take Rodney back for Colomé. This guy doesn't realize that you're going to get more chances than Colomé will have. That's fact.
Yeah, it happens the same thing offensively. You sit there and you look at the end of the season, you look at who's maximized their at-bats the most.
Yeah, and the other thing that applies to is, I've done this a couple times in fantasy football actually also, is that if I have a player that's about equal, and let's say I'm 2-4 in fantasy, 2 wins, 4. I mean, you need to get that win in fantasy when you're 2-4. You go to 2-5, it's a problem. I may just step out of my comfort zone a little bit and say, something? I may trade the better player here, but I'm going to get a guy who hasn't had his bye week yet. I know I'm going to have him for the rest of the season, where, one of my guys hasn't had the bye or has had the bye. I'm getting confused with my own statement here, but you get my point. You're getting an extra game.
Wait, what? Wait, I don't understand. Can you re-explain that?
Hey, man, it sounded great on paper.
Could you mansplain that to me one more time, please? I'm a little bit on the slow side this morning.
Yeah, getting an extra game, taking advantage of situations is something that you can do in all fantasy sports. I think that's the key, is that you can't just look at it as black and white. There's some gray areas to everything, so try and take advantage of that.
Yeah, no question, no question. Blue Blaze watching, says he loves my hat. Loves my hat. Yeah.
Tonight the Marlins are going to take it to the Yankees tonight. You don't even know.
What are they going to take? Like our dinner order for like a seventh inning snack or something?
Oh, man. The only good thing is that game was over so fast last night. I didn't have to watch any of it.
Right. I opined about the potential revenge game narrative for Starlin Castro.
Did you see that tweet that I sent last night? Andahar was using Castro's bat.
Oh, was he? Look at that.
I got a picture of it.
Had himself a real good game, too, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, what's
Who
going to happen
didn't have
tonight?
a good game for the Yankees? Oh, Stanton.
No, he didn't hit.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? People sit there and try and they're paying too much about that. I don't get it.
Yeah, you got to let that play out.
That's a guy you easily let play out. All right. Over on YouTube, fantasy football legend here, FFB. What are you doing in my live stream, dude? Come on. Now, wants to know if we talked any stacks today. We sort of talked a couple of stacks today, and we're gonna float in and out of seasonal and DFS content. It's just a free flowing live stream, baby. Free flowing. I got a prostate the size of Milwaukee, so I need to do anything free flowing as
I think that's a great stack. Milwaukee
is a great stack tonight. Absolutely.
Right there. I think Sal Romano on the mound for the Reds.
Romano's he's pitching all right. He's not pitching terribly. What are you talking about?
You're breaking up a little bit. Sal Romano?
I'm pulling up Sal Romano's numbers right now.
Please
all
do.
Right, no strikeouts, 53.6% ground ball rate. Fire! All right, and his WOBA splits, lefty and righty, they're mid threes. They're 33 to 34%. Not the greatest in the world, but certainly, listen. Are there trashier ones? Yeah. How about going with the Rays stack like we talked about against Matt Moore? He's a piece of shit. Okay. How about an Oakland stack against Miguel Gonzalez? He's dog crap. I might even look at the Dodgers against Brian Mitchell here. I'm easily looking at the Cubs against Wainwright.
Yeah, I think that's the one that jumps off.
That's the game stack right there. Cardinals, Cubs, yeah. Wainwright, Chatwood, boom.
Yeah, I think that the thing with Wainwright is I mean there may not be a human I like more than Adam Wainwright. Like this guy is the most charitable player maybe that I've ever seen in baseball. But if we're just talking about it from a baseball perspective, in DFS they're kind of living off Wainwright's name, because if you put anybody's name there instead of Wainwright with what he's done, you would be saying, wow, throw me Chris Bryant, throw me Javier Baez, throw me everybody tonight in Chicago. So, I could definitely see that as being one of them for sure.
Yeah, it bums me out. I cover. I've interviewed Wainwright, and I've covered him and the Big League Impact when they do the drafts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, Big League Impact, it's Adam Wainwright's charity, fresh water to everybody in the world in need of fresh water. And he goes around from stadium to stadium, and he sets up fantasy football leagues with MLB players. So when they're out here in San Francisco, I've covered for SiriusXM Fantasy, gotten a chance to interview him. Hunter Pence is big and active in that. Corey Guerin's another guy who's really into it as well. So Big League Impact, you guys definitely want to check that out and listen on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio for when that's going to obviously start up again in August. Those drops.
I will say this: 7.5 is the total there. So Vegas is seeing something that we're not. Maybe the weather or something like that. But I'm always very big on the Vegas totals, and I think you got to pay attention to that one. One of the higher totals, by the way, Howard, is Orioles Tigers tonight. Cashner and Liriano, both pitchers have pitched well. Cashner's ERA is 2.5. Liriano 2.1. I guess there's just not a lot of belief there that someone's about to get hit tonight. I guess.
The unfortunate thing is that game's not on the main slate. You got to play that all-day slate.
Yeah, why? I don't understand none of the 6:40 games are on there.
They don't put them on the main slate.
Why? They start 20 minutes before.
I don't understand it either. Listen, do I work for FanDuel? Do I work for DraftKings? No, I just put up with the shenanigans that they do. Well, because they want. Listen, I'm sure there's like an early slate. I'm sure there's like a midday slate here with the Royals game, Miami, and then you've got Miami, New York, and Baltimore, Detroit. That one right there. If you want to play a 3-game slate, you can probably get away with that. And listen, anytime I love stacking against Andrew Kashner and those right-handed bats for Baltimore against Liriano. Yeah, he's disgusting.
Right. I mean, look, you threw out some good numbers on Romano, but I still would pick the Brewers tonight, man. Like the Reds are 3-13, going nowhere. I'd have to try and throw Travis Shaw in a lineup or two tonight. I could see this going very badly for the Reds.
Yeah, I did that yesterday with Shaw. He only had one hit in the game. I love it when you've got a weak right-hander on the mound going up against the Brewers, but Eric Thames is out. VR, he had an okay game last night, but VR, Shaw, and Thames, those are the only three lefties. VR's a switch hitter. Those are the only three lefties on that team there. So if you can kind of work your way around them a little bit more, well, 2 out of the 3 now because Thames is dealing with a groin injury. It's not bad, which is why I guess maybe I might go a little Sal Romano. How about this? If you're a multi lineup kind of guy, all right, you've got McCullers on one side for Houston. You've got the Mariners stack on the other because McCullers has looked like hot trash.
He really has.
So far this season.
Yeah.
I feel like in a GPP tournament, if you're a multi-lineup guy, I think you kind of hedge a little bit. And in one lineup, you go with McCullers because he's probably not going to be heavily owned at all tonight. And then on the other side, you go with that Mariners stack and really try to do away with it. You hit with the Cruz, Cano, Seager, or you can go Gordon, Segura, and then Cano. There are a couple of different ways you can go at this lineup here as far as the stack goes. I don't know, man. What's your thoughts on McCullers? Because I feel like the skill set is fantastic. His curveball is phenomenal. Usually it is. So what's going on with Lance McCullers? He pitched really well, in spring, when I saw him. But, the problem that has always been for him is that the fastball location, and that's really what cost him in his last start with all of those walks. So, how can I'm not a pitching coach. How can I predict what he's going to do in terms of location? But look, if Seattle's willing, some teams aren't willing to take pitches. It's just it. Some teams are going to swing out of their shoes. It doesn't matter. Seattle's one of those teams that seems to be a little bit more patient. I watched that game against Manaea. They took a lot of first pitch strikes. So, maybe they'll have the same approach with McCullers tonight. But in terms of trust, he's just been a very streaky pitcher. He was phenomenal and dominant in the postseason. He was phenomenal and dominant, I think, 2 months maybe out of last year. But the rest have been, somewhat inconsistent for him. And let's also not forget, if McCullers can't get right, it would not shock me at all to see Houston go, okay, mystery DL, let's, get him right. Colin McHugh, batter up. McHugh's been very good for them in the past. So you're going to give McCullers a longer leash than just one more start. That's ridiculous. But you get to the end of April, it's not going well, and you find something to fix. They could do it. Yeah, I could see him rebounding a little bit. All of a sudden, he throws you a quality start, and then the start after that, where just when you think that he's right back to normal, he gets smacked around again.
It's just I could see that control. It's all the control with him. He never gets hit very hard, but eventually you're gonna with guys leaving guys on base. That's just a luck stat, and eventually if you walk 2 guys, you have runners on first and second. Half the time you can clear the bases by not getting anybody out, and half the time someone's going to get a hard hit ball, and you're going to lose, and that's kind of what's happened with him.
Oh yeah, Sunday's game, Atlanta against the Cubs, Atlanta walked 10 batters. They had a 10-5 lead. It was insane, and then they ended up the bullpen just walked guys ridiculously, and the next thing you know, it was 14-10. Cubs. You just can't give out the free passes like that.
No.
Can't do it. All right. I got a couple of questions here. I got into a discussion with somebody on Twitter. What are you snickering at, man? I see you smirking over there. Was something funny? Something funny, Mish?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
All right. Okay.
I'm still waiting for the shed thing here. Like
you want to know what's in the shed? Oh, it's like, oh wow, we only have 10 minutes left.
I know.
All right.
All
right. Here we go. I'm getting up. I'm gonna find something here. You're gonna enjoy this one. All right. This was a gift from a friend. Welcome to What's in the Shed, everybody. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me here, Craig Mish. It was a gift that I received. Beautiful, beautiful box right here from my friend Brian Skinny McKinney. Yeah. I got a whole box from him actually mailed to me with "What's in the box" written all over.
Oh, right. So, that's your thing. Right.
So what's in the shed? Here we go. Keep calm and eat latkes.
I like that.
Right?
Perfect. See, that's a great example of what we can, break out every week.
Hey, you can put like your stash and stuff in here.
Right? You're gonna say that, right? I know what's going in there.
Right? What's going in there? Here, I'll throw some 5-hour energies in there.
Wow, you're on that too, and the Red Bull.
Oh, dude, something's got to keep me awake. Listen, I'm all out of Mexican Ritalin. My girl has not come back yet with it, so I gotta augment my awakeness somehow. And there you go. So the 5-hour energy, yeah. That's what's going to be in the box in the Keep Calm and Eat Latkes shed. So that's
nice work. By the way, Saturday is Record Store Day, Howard. I don't know if you knew that, but I saw somewhere. You'll have to tell me whether or not this is true. But I think Fish may have a new record coming out Saturday. Maybe you may want to look into it. You would know about this more than me, but I saw something saying that they had something coming out Saturday. Don't know the details of it, but may want to look into it.
You inside scoop there. You know what the problem is? I don't have a record player. I don't listen to vinyl. I don't have time for that. I don't have the ability, the wherewithal, or anything. What do you got? Look at you. Like you're like a straight out of the 70s, baby.
There you go, man.
What record is on the player right now?
It's a mix of different artists. Yeah, it's Arista. Like Q-Tip is on there. Faith Evans is on there. It's an Arista promo record that just puts out a bunch of songs from the 90s.
Q-Tip and Faith Evans.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of artists on there.
Okay.
From that brand. I just happened to be listening to it this morning. What else did I listen to this morning? I don't know. Bobby Brown, I think I had on there also. Tenderoni, remember that one?
Dude, what decade are you in right now?
I play a lot of 80s music, 90s music. That's the way
Lord,
I don't know anything from the last few years. Nothing.
All right. Let's get back to some baseball here. Only a few minutes left here. What do we got? FFB Legend wants to know, do you have a top pitcher for today? Do you think Alex Wood can hold up versus San Diego? Well, let me bust out my spreadsheet here.
He hasn't looked really good either, by the way.
Talk about guys I like. Ooh.
Best pitcher of the day is it Ohtani?
Corey Kluber.
Oh, yeah, it's Kluber.
I like Ohtani against Boston as well, but, come on. Corey Kluber going up against the Twins. That's always a good one.
Yeah.
What about...
How does that stadium play in Puerto Rico, though? I have no clue. Any clue?
No, I'm going to assume it's going to be a hitter's park.
Not really sure, but the game's in Puerto Rico tonight. So, Tanaka. Oh, you can't use him. He's on the early slate, right? Can't
use him. How about that? How about Patrick Corbin?
Two pitcher slate. Kluber, Chirinos.
Yeah, I love the Kluber-Chirinos tandem. Chirinos is going to – I don't even know what his price tag is. Let me see his price tag. Over on FanDuel, he's $6,000. I don't know what he is over on DK. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. What about Corbin going up against San Francisco? San Francisco super, super weak against left-handed pitching this year. Corbin's ground ball rate is insane right now.
Too. Yeah, strikeout rate too. I guess it's legit. Yeah. I guess if you didn't want to pay up for Kluber and you wanted to go heavy bats, then you would go Kluber-Chirinos. Oh, I'm sorry, Corbin-Chirinos. I'm having Chirinos in there. The guy hasn't given up a run yet.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to – I will never argue against Yanni Chirinos right now. 14 scoreless innings?
Yeah, I had no idea who this kid was. Outside of Jim mentioning that he was in camp.
Yeah, definitely. All right, what about how about Gio against the Mets? You like Gio against the Mets? Mets been a little soft against lefties as well. I mean, really, their best hitters right now, you've got Cabrera, who's a switch hitter. You got Conforto, who's a lefty. Bruce is day-to-day with a foot injury. He's not going to be in the lineup. I don't know. Wilmer Flores is a right-hander, sure, but I don't know, man. Maybe Gio might have a little something.
He could be.
Going today.
He could be. I like the other names we mentioned, though. I think that if I had, listen, if you're playing a million lineups, absolutely.
I am not playing a million lineups.
Well, some people do. So.
They do. All right, so we're on Kluber, we're on Chirinos, we're on Corbin. Shohei Ohtani against these Red Sox. It's gonna be
He'll probably do well. He'll probably do. I mean, listen, do you trust David Price tonight after the last start? You got to be crazy.
Oh, I know, right? Good. Good. All right, let's see. We got any more questions here? Let's see. Oh, well, he actually asked, do you think Wood against San Diego is a good play in San Diego? Alex Wood.
I like the other names better than what we've talked about so far. Look, I own Alex Wood in one league, so I've paid a little bit closer attention. It was impossible to think that Wood would be the same guy that he was last year. That being said, he doesn't look like the same guy that he was last year. That's it.
No, he does not. He is not. I'm not a fan either. You could say you're not a fan, dude. Just be like, no, this guy's
I'm a fan. He just, it hasn't looked as good.
Oh, I love this comment here from Keith Giordano. Vegas shenanigans will happen as sure as base runners will circle John Burkett. Do you remember that dude pitching for the Braves? It was like late 90s, early 2000s. John Burkett was on the mound, and Keith and I were watching the game, and sure as shit, the announcers said that something's going to happen as sure as base runners will circle John Burkett. And you literally saw the carousel moving around the bases with Burkett on the mound. And it was like 6 earned runs, 7 earned runs, 8 earned runs. Wow. Ding, 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 ding. It was like playing a Vegas slot machine. It's like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Yeah, Burkett was good once upon a time, but at the end he was not. Like a lot of pitchers.
Guys, last call for some questions here. Again, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. The only questions we got off of Periscope here, is it ever going to stop raining?
Where's it raining?
I don't know if it's raining anywhere right now, but, dude, these rainouts have been just a hot mess. Hot mess. Oh, he was on the Rangers and the Braves, Keith. But I guess we were watching him when he was on the Rangers.
Burkett was on the Giants, too, right?
Was he? I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah. Really good on the Giants.
Come on. Really?
Really?
Oh, hey, speaking of the Giants here, Bryce Harper's broken bat home run. Does that put him into the class of Barry Bonds? I've heard far too many people talking about that.
Sure. I mean, if that's what moves you, broken bat home runs. John Burkett pitched from the Giants from 1987 to 1994. Including 1993 when he was an All-Star, and 4th in the Cy Young Award, and won 22 games.
Wow. And then look what happened to him.
I'm not going to even check, because I know.
Really? You don't want to? You know what?
All right, I'll check.
God! We got 1 more minute to go here. You might as well stretch it out here and just embarrass the guy.
I forgot about that. He pitched with the Marlins. He did not have a good year. And then he had earned run averages of over 4 or more from 1996 all the way through 2003, with the exception of 1 season in Atlanta in 2001. So he pitched with Texas, Atlanta, and then at the end with Boston. It did not go very well, but he is a 2-time All-Star, major league pitcher who won 166 games. And wow. That's really amazing. But he was good with the Giants. I remember.
Apparently he's a great bowler, too, at least according to Lenny Melnick.
Lenny Melnick is still on our chat? Still?
Believe this?
Are you still there?
Shouldn't you take a nap, Lenny? Come on.
He told me he got out of the house the other day. I was so proud of him.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Roto lady getting him motivated there. Very nice.
Say that. Didn't get out of the house.
All right, guys, that's going to That's going to do it for me and Craig here today. Again, you can always find us here on the Fantasy Alarm live stream every Tuesday and every Friday at noon Eastern. You can find Craig everywhere. It's Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern time on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Can we catch you anywhere else?
Yes. Also, remember, last week we broke the story about Brian Anderson being moved to right field for the Miami Marlins. If you are a Fantasy Alarm subscriber, when I get information that's going to help you win in fantasy, you will get that first before I even release it on Twitter. So if you're a subscriber, especially if you're playing in these first-come, first-served leagues, make sure that you're paying attention and look for those updates in the email because it can help you get an advantage before the world knows. You will get it first. Next Thursday night, I don't know that this will affect fantasy a ton, but I definitely will attempt to break some news in the NFL draft. So make sure if you're following along Fantasy Alarm, I'll be locked into that. And throughout the fantasy baseball season, when a player gets called up, you'll know first. When a player's switching around, information to have, you'll know first before the world. That's my promise to you guys.
There you go. What's better than that? We got Mish breaking stories. We got a GM on staff giving you breakdown and analysis, and you've got this cute little mug here. Right? There it is.
And I shave for this show. I mean, I shave every time we do the live stream. I shave. You know that?
I'm very happy. Thank you. This is a beard. It stays. It stays. The wife doesn't want to know what's going on underneath. I don't think I want to know what's going on underneath. I will shave this the day that I end up finally dropping the 75 to 80 pounds I need to lose.
I thought you were on track with that at some point.
I was on great track for it,
and then 25 pounds or something.
And then it was like the wife's birthday,
and then it just went on.
And then it all went to shit from there because then after the birthday, it was like, oh well, who diets through the holidays? Well, the holidays are still going on right now, apparently. I don't know, maybe one day. That's going to do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, live stream with me and Craig Mish here every Tuesday and every Friday, noon Eastern. Every Thursday night, it's me and Brandon Marianne Lee doing the NFL live stream. Hey, Papa Smurf, I see you over there. We'll catch you guys next time. Take care. Thanks for tuning in.